Gardening at 58 North. So in this video I'd like to show you all the improvements I'm doing to the conservatory here. Now this is the first section of the video, so this has just had the first improvement, and that is the flooring here. So as you can see, it's got brand new lino in. What it did have before was a really old carpet, and the problem with the carpet is it would just get wet and then it would absorb all the water when I was watering the plants, and it would just get mold would start forming. It just wouldn't be very good at all for place with plants really. So I've gone for vinyl. It's just like a kind of a plasticky material that gets stretched out over the surface. So it looks quite nice. It's also going to be easy to clean. It's also waterproof as well, so if I spill any water it's not a problem. I can just mop it up. The only difference I do find is it's a lot more echoey in here with the lino, but I think that's partly because the plants are out. Once you get the plants back in here, this should be much less echoey. So that's all for this section of the video. I'm now going to come back at a later date and I'm going to show you the next improvements, because there's quite a lot of little things to do in this conservatory. So the time frame of this video is probably going to be over several weeks or months as I do all the different upgrades, but this is the first one, and I'll go on to the next one, whatever that may be. So the next project I have in my conservatory here will be the roof here. I've cleaned the windows previously. The windows aren't too bad, but the roof is in really quite a bad state. The worst bit is probably this here, where you can see there's a lot of moss, so I need to clear this off. At the moment a lot of light is getting blocked from all the dirt and algae on the surface, so you can maybe see here if I go up close, there's a huge amount of algae on the outside layer of the perspex, so I need to clean that off. Now this is double layered perspex, and unfortunately there is a little bit of dirt in between the two layers and there's nothing I can do to clean that. But what I need to do is give it a good scrub, get rid of this surface layer on the top, get rid of that algae, because that can block out quite a lot of light. I purposely left it over the summer because it was really bright and getting really hot in here. I didn't want my plants to get scorched by the sun and for it to get too warm. But it's now October, the light's getting lower, so I really need to get as much light in here as possible. So the whole lot needs doing from the outside, but on the inside I also need to clean it. You can see there's a small amount of black mold on the inside of the panel. So the inside of the panel, I'll be cleaning that. It won't be too bad, it's only small bits that are moldy, but I'll clean the whole thing anyway. And then the outside is the main job, where I need to clear off quite a lot of algae and scrubbing. And that will be a little bit tricky, just because of the conservatory, the way it is. It's going to be hard to reach, so I've got a long extension pole and hopefully clean it with that. I also might need to get the hose out, but we'll see how I get on. So that's the roof now cleaned. Certainly could improve it a bit more. It's quite difficult to reach, so I washed it off with a hose, but there's still a few bits of residue on the outside. Also now I've cleaned the outside, I can see a few bits where I've missed on the inside, but generally it's a lot better. It certainly feels a lot brighter in here, and as I showed you in the photos previously, you can see quite a difference when you compare like with like. So as I say, it's still not perfectly clean. I'll probably need to give this another clean, probably do it later in the winter. But generally I'm quite happy with how that's come up. It's certainly a lot cleaner than it was. The only annoying thing really are these condensation patches. There's not much I can do about them. That's just where the seal's gone. This conservatory is over 30 years old, so the seal's broken on some of these, so there's some moisture getting in. And there's not much I can do really to get rid of that. You can see at the end there's of these panels there's like a silver foil. That's probably what's gone, and just let the moisture in. So there's not a lot I can do about that. But the good thing is, even though there is moisture getting in there, it's not turning green, so as long as it doesn't turn green, it's not a big problem, just a bit of condensation. So it'll be interesting to see how much more it warms up now it's been cleaned. As I say, it does feel a lot brighter, and hopefully the plants will do all the better for it, because that should let a lot more light in now and the plants will be a lot happier. So the next upgrade I need to carry out here in the conservatory is the ventilation system. At the moment there's no active ventilation apart from a fan that I installed. So I have this fan here. This just blows air into the conservatory. I did have it on the rotating setting, but the rotating gears are broken, so it just stays static now. But it just gives a bit of airflow that helps the air to circulate That's really helpful if it's a cold night, because otherwise what can happen is you can get really cold pockets of air. It just means the air is circulating, nowhere gets too cold, and it should also help a little bit with the humidity, as it will just cycle it around a bit. But the biggest problem is still humidity at the moment, especially at winter, because I have to keep the windows closed the whole time. If I did open the windows, it would let some of the humidity out, but the problem with having uncontrolled ventilation is I'll have to constantly close it and open it just to regulate the temperature. And also you would have, for example, you'd have a window open and all that cold air will be pouring out onto one plant, and other corners of the conservatory might still be quite warm and humid, whereas that area will be really cold and dry with all the cold dry air coming in. So I need a system that works better. So I need an automatic system that can fully extract all the air out of the conservatory and not just have a window open where the air ebbs in and out and doesn't completely evacuate the air. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a window mounted fan. I'm not putting it in a window though, because these are double glazed windows and I don't want to damage them. So I'll be putting it in this PVC panel here. I'm going to drill a hole in there, put in a fan. That fan is then going to be on a timer. I'm not sure what timings I'm going to use yet. I'll just have to figure it out with my timer that I've got, and also with how well it pours out the air. But basically the timer I can have it on 20-minute intervals. So I'll probably have it on for 20 minutes, maybe 3 or 4 times a day. We'll just see. I'll just play around with the timings and see what works the best. But it really needs a fan at the moment. The conservatory got far too much humidity. If I come down here, you can see there's constant water on these panels. You can see the condensation on there, and they've been green. They've been wet for so long that they're actually starting to go green with algae now. I did wash this down just a month ago, but they're starting to go green again with algae. So I need to sort that out. Another thing I need to sort out on this conservatory is originally there was a gap here which I filled in with cement, but there's a smaller gap here that I also need to fill in, and there's quite a strong draft that comes through there, and that cold air that does flow through creates a cold spot for any plants that are there. But also you can see there's a lot of condensation on the PVC that's next to it because it's been cooled down so much. So I really do need some better ventilation in here. You can see the windows are often steamed up. This morning this was completely steamed up, but with the heating being on, the humidity levels have dropped. You can still see in this corner where there's a lot more plants, there's still condensation dripping down the inside of the windows. So I could do with a better fan, to be honest, to circulate the air better. But the idea is, once I have an extractor fan fitted up there, the air will be sucked out at the highest point where it will be at its warmest. It will be poured out that side. There's a trickle vent. There's only one, unfortunately, in this conservatory. There's a trickle vent up here, so I've left that open. You can see there's a lot of condensation on it because it cools down the metal on the trickle vent and then causes condensation. But the cold air will be drawn in through there. It'll also be drawn in through a few of the cracks around the conservatory. So instead of the cold air being drawn in just one spot, it'll be drawn in all over, and that will give a much more even distribution of air. Instead of having one plant blasted with cold air, they'll all receive a small amount of fresh air, and then it'll all be vented out on the opposite side. As I say, most of it should come from the trickle vent, and it'll come out of that section there. So what I have been doing to vent it out in winter so far is I've been having the conservatory doors open to the house. That's okay at the moment because the conservatory is kept about the same temperature as the house, about 19 degrees Celsius. But the problem is, as winter goes on, it'll get colder, and to keep this heated at that temperature will be too expensive and it'll produce too many carbon emissions. So what I'm going to do is reduce the temperature in here. That means I can't leave the conservatory door open because the whole house will cool down. Or what can also happen is if there's warmer, humid air inside, it will come into the conservatory and then it will condense into the surfaces. And I have a feeling it's started to do that a bit now because the humidity is quite good in the house, but the humidity is really bad in here, and it's lower temperature in here as well, so it's just causing condensation. So I'll get started now. I'll get the extractor fan, and I'll make sure I've got the right size hole, drill a hole in the wall, and then fit the extractor fan. So that's now installed. Hopefully you can hear me with all the fans going. What this one does is it has a little, has like some flaps on the front which open and close. You can possibly see it. I did a time lapse of it earlier, and basically it closes up and seals when it's not in operation, and when you turn it on, the flaps open up, and that way you don't get any air going through when you don't want it to go through, only when it's turned on. So what I'm going to do now is I've set up a timer switch, which is this one here. I've got it plugged in temporarily on an extension cable, but ideally I need to have this hardwired eventually into the electrical system. This is just as a temporary measure. I've got it on this timer switch on an extension cable, but I will eventually have this on a more permanent solution. And this will be timed, so I've got it at the moment. It goes on every 4 hours during the day for about 20 minutes at a time. And I'll see how that does, see if that gives it enough ventilation. I've also got a humidity thermostat here, so I can tell the humidity. This isn't the actual humidity at the moment, it's much more like 80% humidity in here, which is why I need this fan to get the humidity down. So I'll give you guys an update on this later in the year, see how it does. I'll need to probably have this tested out for a few weeks to see how well it works, and I'll see if I can get this humidity down in the conservatory, get rid of some of this condensation on the panels, because it's really not ideal having all this condensation. That's it for this part of the video, and I'll see you later with some more improvements with the conservatory.